So we were talking about Korean skincare.
Korean sunscreen specifically.
And hydrofacials, right? And then I made the joke that we love ourselves though, right? Like just as we are, we can age gracefully, blah, blah, blah. And so then I said, do you feel like when I was growing up in Utah specifically, I felt hideous because I wasn't white. And I think at least it's important for me to say is like, nobody made me feel that way necessarily.
But just being other.
Yeah.
Made you feel that way.
And like, it was like, oh, there, and really the 90s in America plays in here where the white aesthetic was the only one that was actually beautiful.
You're Barbie.
Yes. And so in this like anti-aging, all the things, right? I'm to a place where I'm like, I actually want to enjoy my appearance because this is the first time in my life that I am.
Soak it up.
And so that there's something to that. And honestly, it's always the permission for all people, not just women, to do what feels good. Right? And like, I feel like I'm too old now to kind of discern whether or not that's conditioning or that I just enjoy it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear you.
Like, do I get ready and do my makeup the way I do because for me or because
it's hard to separate.
But now I just try to consciously choose it as much as possible. But I do finally like, I don't hate the way I look anymore. That's nice.
That feels good.
You know?
This is new.
It is though. And so I'm like, hey, maybe I will get skincare treatments because I would like to enjoy this.
Yes. Because I haven't had as much time as the people around us in this Utah community have had loving the way they look.
Totally.
Dude, my eyebrow... Again, because now I feel like big lips and big eyebrows are so big.
Oh, yeah.
But growing up, those were
the worst.
The worst. And so the way that I plucked my eyebrows, they were literally like one hair after
another. I know. And it was like, how thin can I get them? And like, you know how people will line out to make their lips? Yes. I was like doing the opposite.
Yeah, line in.
How can I be small? And y'all, I'm not small, okay? I'm 5'9". I have the shoulders of a linebacker, okay? It's hilarious to me that I was trying to blend in. I'm like Clifford the big red dog. I'm like, no one can see me, right?
You're like, if I put concealer on my lips, no one will notice me.
No one will notice me. I totally blended. And the thing that blew my mind as I started doing this work, I would have these just stunning women that were white, that were the ideal, especially in my brain, right? Thin, beautiful, all the things. And they would tell me they hated themselves.
Oh.
And that they thought they were ugly. And I was like, this is some shit.
This is some shit.
So nobody can win.
No.
So what the fuck?
Why are we prescribing? Why are we subscribing to this?
Why?
Yeah, I hear you. And it's so interesting because I think about, so that kind of my story, because we're just kind of getting to know each other.
Into it.
So much of my life. So I'm a woman of color, grew up in Utah, adopted, and grew up pretty poor. Not like super, super poor, but like, our fridge didn't make ice. You know what I mean? Like, poor.
That's a great way to put it. Mine didn't either.
Yes, we had the trays.
Uh-huh. Oh, totally. And people were like, what are those? Like,
you had to like crack them and then like use your fingers to get the ice out. God.
And they're like, why isn't it crushed? I'm like, we got to do that yourself.
Oh, sorry, man. I'll give you a hammer and I guess you could do it yourself.
This is such a great socioeconomic, like, description.
Because we weren't like destitute.
No.
Right? Like we had a fridge and a freezer, but my freezer didn't make ice.
And you could not leave a light on in the house.
Oh my God.
Could not.
The trauma that my mom, when we went to stay at a hotel about a mini bar, she was like, don't fucking touch.
Yeah, like don't even.
Mini bar.
And it was so clear. Like they to make eye contact. Was like, don't you dare. And it was like, I hear you and I'm a little scared. You know?
I was like, I'm 6 and this mini bar will spell my financial ruin
and we knew it.
I'm scared now.
And we would like rinse out Ziploc bags. I feel like that's another one too. Like we had to reuse them.
Yes, multiple times. Even if they were like a little
the Cool
holy.
Whip container. Okay.
Wait.
That was our Tupperware. Right?
That doesn't even seal very
well. But that's the
where
way it
we
was.
were at. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
So I grew up my entire life feeling other. Mm-hmm. And what do we do when we feel other? We hustle. We hustle for love. We hustle for self-worth. And I find myself, so what I hustled in was my career. I hustled hard. And so I spent my career hustling. I got to the executive level and then I hit full burnout and had to leave. And in this journey, I was like, okay, I need to recover from corporate life. But really, it's been a journey of self-transformation, of like, I don't know, accessing the things that are available to me at all times, but I never knew.
Yeah. Why didn't you know?
I think for me, I felt so ruled by my circumstances. I didn't know anything else, right? Like, I'm poor. I'm putting my, at the time, partner through school. I got pregnant really young. Like, I'm a victim of my circumstances. And that chip on my shoulder, goddamn, was big. And it still is huge. And I think it's so much easier to be a victim.
I think it is too.
It's easier to be angry.
It's easier and harder, maybe?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I think it might be more the natural response if you aren't aware. And there, or let's go here, right? Because it's like, I'm realizing that all of my things around responsibility, because I went a different direction. I just didn't hustle. I hustled for acceptance and belonging.
Ooh.
And to like make everyone feel incredible except for me.
Oh, no
right?
boundaries.
No. Listen.
Who is she?
We don't even know. Did I have needs before 2010? No. Yes, I did.
You did.
You know? But it's like, I was so terrified of responsibility. And I feel like that is part of the victim mentality too. It's like, how am I empowered? How can I be responsible for this? And that was the biggest turning point for me when I was like, oh, I'm the only one that can do this. And
why do you think you weren't worthy of acceptance and belonging? Or that you didn't get it without being perfect?
Solid question. Okay, let's see.
Like, where did it come from?
Well, I knew one of my earliest memories is that I didn't belong.
Oh.
Like, there was somebody on the internet who said like they were asking white people if they knew when they were white. And the answer was basically like, no. I knew I wasn't. And maybe you had a similar, it was like I knew from a very early age that I was different. And
not just different, but other.
Other. Yeah. And I think from that, it was like, I've got to earn my worth. Because I'm lucky to be here. It would be so much worse if I weren't. And not being able to trust yourself for a number of reasons, right? And now it's like I'm mixed race, right? So I have white and Samoan, and I didn't understand until probably 6 years ago that those things have to be integrated, or rather get to be. And so it's like you're grappling with all of these different identities, and you're looking around like, well, and it's very tribal in its nature. Like, well, you don't look like me. You don't look like me. And I'm behaving different, and I don't know why. Right? And so my parents split up when I was 1, so I was raised by my white family. So there was no other reflection either.
What's another other, too?
It's another other.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets, I don't know, complex for me, because it's not like my white family was like, this brown kid.
You didn't have to wear a sign.
But like when you take the big family picture,
oh God,
where did you know?
Yes,
it's just you. You're like looking at it, and it's like why? You know, just this big like you stick out like a sore thumb.
You do.
And so this is, you know, I think my family would feel like we tried, and I'm saying they did. It doesn't mean that wasn't my experience. My
therapist helped me through this because I also come from the same, like, did I did I leave my childhood with all the tools that I needed to live a happy life? Like, definitely not.
Oh, no.
But
not
did
even
my
close.
parents try their hardest? Yes.
Yes.
And I think my therapist helps me kind of like, it can be both.
It is both.
You can still be angry.
Need to be. Because it's holy.
About these little shit things that you just carry around with you that you got from your childhood, but that your parents did their best.
They did. And that's where it gets so messy.
Yeah.
And now that I'm a parent, on one hand, this has given me a leg up, I think, because I am betting on that when my kids come to me and like, you fucked this up, I'll be like, yep, I did. Because I just want to validate their experience because I know what that's like. And I think one of the most painful things I've had to process in my life is that that was too much for my family of origin to hold, that they were doing their best and that it caused me a lot of pain.
It's complex too. So I think this is so important because I think the first part of my journey was like, what is my fucking story? What is my story? What is my money story? What is my anxiety story? Like figuring out what your story is. And I think it's so complex because I yielded a lot from my story. My otherness made me hustle, right? Like all of these things made me
Makes you overfunction, doesn't it?
overfunction. And
Yes.
for a while, that looks pretty good. You're successful. You're making money. People like you.
I wasn't, but yes. But people liked me.
But
Damn
people
it.
like you, right?
Yeah.
And you're surrounded and it feels good and you're getting that immediate feedback loop.
Yes.
You're like, this feels good. And that carried me for 13 years. I was like, wow, this feels good. I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Keep doing this.
Because no one can prove otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is where it gets hard for people because I think the trauma can sometimes power good things
For sure.
up to a certain point.
Okay, God, she's so good. You guys. Here's the thing. It's right now, and we were talking about this earlier. I'm in this new space where I have this regulated nervous system now. God. Where,
Who is she?
Like what? And where the voice in my head is not one that is berating. And that motivator of fear, scarcity, and shame it's a good one.
Oh, it'll drive you so far.
It'll break you, but it'll drive you. And so learning how to be motivated and turn up the flame, I suppose, is hard. Because I'm like, but I'm very content, so now what?
I'm doing good. So.
I'm doing good. And it's like, well, I should probably like do X, Y, and Z for my business, but I don't know. I'm kind of alive and happy today. It's strange. And so I've described it like, I feel like I'm like a toddler. I barely know how to manage this new system. And it's hilarious to me because I'm like, I should probably be stressed out right now. But I'm not.
You're not.
And somebody asked me, does it feel like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop? And I was like, absolutely not. I know what that is. It was more like, oh, this is what it feels like to be responsible for my experience. This is what it feels like to have sincerely processed the trauma into wisdom. Doesn't mean I'm not going to fuck it up later, but it'll be a new way.
I think that's a funny misconception of people that have done this self-work. It's like, oh, you say this all the time, arrival is a myth. And you're like, well, now that I've done this work, everything will go right.
Yes.
I'm safe. I've
Totally.
created and things will go right for me. And I think what's interesting is like the same amount of shit is still happening in my life. My life is still a shitstorm as it was 9 months ago.
Chaos.
And bad things happen and we fail and things don't go right for us.
Right.
But it doesn't, I'm trying to figure out how do you
I
articulate it?
experience it completely differently. It's information. I'm like, oh, that didn't work out. Okay, what did I learn? And it like when I phrase it that way, I don't actually phrase it that way in the moment. It's just what happens. Oh, that fell flat on its face. And sometimes there's pain. Thanks. Sometimes there's pain associated with that, but then I just feel it. So it's clean pain. I'm experiencing it in the moment.
Oh, tell me more about clean pain. You've referenced that before.
Okay, so I got it from I can't remember his last name. His first name's Resma. The book's called My Grandmother's Hands. But what he's referring to is the stagnant pain of repression, right? Suppression, your emotions, and then working to where we are, where you are feeling your emotions in real time. It's clean. And so just like you said, the biggest misconception people have about any kind of spiritual work, any kind of mindfulness, meditation, even religion, is that there will come a point where you ride off into the sunset and nothing bad happens to you and you won't ever experience pain. That's not it. It's that you feel it intensely. And at least for me, I feel it in my entire body. And then it flows out. So nothing is stagnant. I'm this open vessel where I take the information from the feeling and then apply it. It's wild.
It's clean.
It's clean. Nothing is left over. Nothing is stagnant.
One of the things that I drew from, because we just talked about this as well, that like whatever you want to subscribe to in this self journey, like if it's crystals, if it's things, but one of them was breath work, because I love things that get me into my body, like yoga and breath work.
Totally.
And this breath work facilitator, I love her. She said, everything in your body has an expiration date. And you're going to have to deal with everything in your body. But your body's kind and gentle and will say, you're not ready for this one. I'm going to hold on to it for a little longer. And what I find is so interesting is now that I've gone through this journey, well, now that I am going through this journey.
But with a different system?
I almost find that my body is surfacing more.
Oh, yeah.
So again, it's not like you get to this place and you get to this arrival and you have done all your work. It's like, oh, she's ready now.
Yeah.
Your body's like, she's ready now to handle this and this and this and all of these really nasty things that you've bottled up in your body.
They can come up now.
But they don't rock you as much as they did when I was younger.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It's incredible.
And this actually just happened to me 2 days ago.
Ooh, what came up?
So what I always tell clients is that phrase, everyone's pretty familiar with, God only gives you as much as you can handle. That's actually your body.
Yes.
Your body, I'm honestly, I'm shook at the way it cares for me. Because I spent, the first 30 years hating it, right? I did. And then, even the concept of like my body's betraying me or whatever. And now I'm just like, so I just moved into a new place a year ago and I was obsessed with the trees. Okay. It's this like condo complex and there's beautiful mature trees, but it's this particular kind. And they have these really tiny, beautiful, delicate leaves that are the worst in the fall. But anyway, I would not shut up about it to anybody. I was like, these trees, like,
but wait,
I was obsessed. And like the minute I drove through, I was like, this is it. I hadn't even looked at the place. I just knew. So this is a year ago. And I'm sitting in my courtyard 2 days ago, staring up at these trees that I cannot get enough of. And I had the most vivid, like it felt like a true movie flashback where like I was back there and I was staring out the window of my teenage bedroom at my neighbor's tree, which was the exact same kind of tree. I'm going to look up what kind of tree at some point. Anyway. And I would listen to this song. It was by Primitive Radio Gods, for those of you who are 40 plus like me. And I think it's like a really long title. It's like standing outside a broken phone booth, something. But I would listen to it on repeat and I would stare at these leaves because they move. I was meditating before I knew what that was. And I would tell myself, it's going to get better. It's going to be okay. Things aren't as bad as you think they are. They were bad, guys. They were not great. But like, I didn't realize. And then I realized that the tree was in my neighbor's yard. And it was this older couple. They were probably in their late 70s. And they were so worried about me. I couldn't see it then. I don't think I could let myself see their concern for me and the way they checked in on me and these kind of things. And then it all came back and I was like, oh, those are the things you say to kids who aren't okay.
Oh.
And I broke down because I was like, I needed to remember that.
Yeah.
I needed to remember that it was as bad as it was, because we do that. Was it that bad? Was it really that bad?
I mean, I made it.
I'm like, I think I'm okay.
Was it bad?
Yeah. I didn't wind up in jail. I think I'm good. You know what I mean? And this comparison, and, you know, even having a podcast, I've been wanting to tell my story and I don't fully, because it's like, well, it was bad for me, but if people hear it and compare it, it's like, it was not bad enough, which is ridiculous. But the point is like, my body, I was finally ready for this extremely powerful memory for me to come up, not only to remind me that what happened to me. And I was ready to like feel the fullness of, this was painful and harmful and it happened. And then what I really realized is I'm now in a space where I can receive that kind of compassion. And I couldn't, and it would have maybe broken me. I don't know.
You got to a place where your body was like, she's ready.
She's ready.
She's ready to feel how real this was and how traumatic it was.
Yep. And we had a good cry.
I bet.
And I think I've said this on this podcast. I can't remember what I say and what I don't, but I didn't cry for about 25 years. I would have like,
what?
Yeah, I turned it off. You know?
Because you cope. Your body copes.
You're coping. And so it was like this gratitude for that experience. Gratitude for being able to receive the memory, to process it on my own, and then to like feel the feelings from it without suppressing. All in all, it took like 3 hours. That's nuts to me, right?
That's a crazy turnaround time for something like that.
Right?
Yeah, but that's what you learn.
Yeah.
I feel like we're so taught that the strength comes from suppressing. Like, oh, that stressful situation, I'm not going to let it affect me. We're going to move on. Real strength is feeling all of your shit.
And in real time as much as you can.
And in real time as much as you can, whether you're ready for it or not.
And what is this ready for?
I know. That's a great question.
And we know, because I still do it. Am I ready for this? Bull buckle up, because it's happening. You know what I mean? And that if I've learned anything from my life, I've not done anything when I was ready. I did it way before I was.
Oh my God, like kids?
Yeah.
I love when people have that conversation. Like, are we ready? And
I'm like, oh my God. It's cute, isn't it? Like, listen, there is a humbling that happens with children. God. You know, and my oldest is 13 now. And I was like,
mine's 14.
Oh my God. We're learning about each other.
It's
very fun. But isn't it like, if you had told me the fullness of it, and actually people do, you don't have the ears to hear it.
Oh, 100%.
The only thing in your brain is like, oh, baby, sure.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'm different. I'm a special snowflake and I'll be fine.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm different.
I'm different.
I'm not different. It's very hard. And beautiful.
And beautiful.
It is. But like, it's kind of a good thing, I think, that you can't know.
Oh, none of us would have kids if we
None of us
knew.
would have children, you guys.
Is your oldest a girl?
Boy.
Oh.
Youngest is a girl.
Whatever anyone tells you about 16 for girls, it's not. It's 12. It's 12.
Good to know. Thank you.
It's 12.
Right. It's 12. And then all of the things that come up from your stuff, they're bringing it right back front and center. And you're like, oh my. And we're trying to have careers, and now that we know that we get to be our own people and that we don't have to fully like have an identity of I'm just a mom. I'm like, ooh, kind of a lot.
God, this is important. I have the best relationship with my daughter right now that I have ever had. And I think my therapist says, you're going to rebuild your relationship with your kids so many times. So don't hold it too tightly. Like,
I needed to hear that. Thank you.
You're going to rebuild so many times. But the biggest realization, and I hope maybe this resonates with some listeners, but because I have such control issues and I innately have really bad scarcity, a scarcity mindset, and then I spent all of my time in corporate life. So for people that are spending time in corporate life is not controllable. It's chaos. So if you have control issues and you spend your time in an uncontrollable environment, you will find things to control. And it oftentimes is your kids. Like I think about that, about the last, 12 years of my daughter's life, you over control your kids because you are trying to soothe your anxiety in some way. And I'm like, that is such an important piece, I think, of this work.
It
is separating what your issues are, so you don't just like throw them around on everybody around you,
right,
unbeknownst to them, without their consent. Right. They think they're kids.
I was talking to someone about my story, about my childhood, and he asked, "Are you doing one better than your parents?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes,
yes,
like yes, like my children's childhood is night and day from mine." But here was the like womp womp part of it. I was like, oh, I'm messing them up in a new way. It's not the inherited way, but it is my way. But there is something to that.
You still broke a chain.
Yeah.
But a generational chain.
And I actually don't want.
But you started a new one.
I started a new one. But there's a difference here. And this is the piece that like, guys, I'm hanging on to this with everything I've got as a mother, because it's like, I broke a generational curse.
You did.
Okay. I don't even want them to necessarily know that. I want them to experience this as the norm and then do better from here. But now that I know what it is to have broken that I know that I am a human making mistakes. Again, maybe I'm just hoping, because I need to, that's going to make it different too, because I leveled with my kids a while ago. When my oldest was 7, I was like, hey, I'm just a human. I kind of don't know what I'm doing. And he was like, hang on, you weren't a mom before this?
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you. And I was like, no, I was just a person. And his eyes got so big and he goes, did they just let anyone have babies? And I was like, yep. He goes, that doesn't seem right.
And you're like, you're absolutely right.
And so I just said, I'm learning. And I'm doing the best that I can while knowing that there are things that I'm not getting right. And I hope that and giving them permission to call me on stuff too in a respectful way, because we could never do that.
Never.
You couldn't call your parents on their shit.
Because they were so fragile. So they put up a big wall.
Oh, for sure. And then now having worked through this and seeing it with, the 2020 vision that we can, it's like, oh, well, how would they have known? They were doing one better than their parents.
They were.
And my childhood was night and day from my mother's.
Right. But you still had trauma. You still had shit.
And I think that's the point, and to kind of bring it all home of this idea that we can escape this experience without pain, and that pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. And so that all this work that you and I are doing and now teaching, you don't have to suffer, and that clean pain is it.
Oh, the difference between pain and suffering.
Yeah. Clean pain's the new black, and being willing to experience it. Because as far as I can tell, not experiencing pain means you're dead or numbing.
Yeah.
And it's not like life has to be painful. It's just more like it's going to happen. And if you are living your life with an open heart, that means you're going to get your feelings hurt or you will experience heartbreak.
I tried this self-work journey, where I think a lot of people start with Brene Brown, 3 years ago.
Saint Brene.
You start
Daring
there.
greatly. Yeah.
You start there.
I did.
And one of, I think, her books, she talks about how you have to have self-love to have self-work. And I remember being like, I'm good.
You're like, that's a cute thing to put on your wall.
This is going to go great. And it didn't for 3 years. And I'll tell you where this started. So when I first got fired from my job, my big fancy executive job, I was like, well, I'm in shambles. So I took a trip. I took a solo trip to kind of it was really eat, pray, love, but to kind of figure out who I am and what I like to do outside of the context of everyone around me and my fancy title and things. And I booked an appointment at a meditation studio. And the facilitator walked us through a little bit of Reiki healing and meditation. And it was kind of like a fitness studio where you get a subscription, then you get to go and book your time slot or whatever. And during this time, she asked us to give ourselves a hug. And so I put my arms around myself and she was like, but hug yourself like you would hug your best friend. And I cried.
Yeah.
Because I had never given myself that much kindness and gentleness in my life. Yeah. And that was the start. That was the start of this is something that I can access all the time, regardless of the shitstorm that is my life, regardless of my childhood trauma and what my parents did to me, what my boss did to me, what my kids did to me, and all these things. I can access this self-love. And with that, my walls broke down. I was no longer afraid to say sorry to my kid. Like, sorry, I messed up.
Yep.
I wasn't great.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Owning it, that I too can give myself the grace to be imperfect, which is hilarious since we can't be perfect. Or maybe I just need it to be funny. I may have learned to cope with humor. It's fine.
In all of your work, why do you think it's so hard for people to love themselves?
This is a fantastic question.
Because I feel like that's the foundation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I started out in social justice and I still continue. However, what I realized, it's the emotional work is the answer. If you don't know your inherent worth, and if you don't respect and love yourself, you cannot do that to someone else. There is always a tipping point where you will grab for power, control, and then oppression, because you will see it as survival. And when I realized that, I was like, okay, let's go. And I'm trying to really feel out the reason why. And I think it is that we come here, you're born and you never question it. Do you think babies are never like, I don't deserve this? You know what I mean?
Oh, please don't hug me. I don't deserve it.
Uh-uh. Or like, it never occurs to young children to not cry when they're sad. It's taught. And that's where, when you have to suppress your actual, and I call it divinity, right? That's my experience, is like, to me, everyone is a divine being, however you want to put that. But that causes such a soul fracture, such a rupture, that once you learn to kind of get on board and not love yourself, because that's what's being asked of you. Don't show me your emotions because I can't hold them. Don't take up too much space. Don't complain. Don't fill in the blank.
You're lucky to be here.
Yeah. It is such a fracture to your soul and psyche that I don't know that there are words for. I'm trying to kind of figure it out. But then to walk back and remember that, because people are like, I want to be healed. I call myself a transformation coach because that makes sense when you're starting this work, this journey, whatever you want to call it. When you get to the other side, you're like, oh, I was always this way. I forgot. I was made to forget. And then I think one of the most deepest grieving points is it's not necessarily any one person's fault or any one institution. And so to meet that, and then the other piece too, like with this whole self-love thing, you can't go from self-loathing to self-loving. You got to walk that weird journey to like, I guess I can kind of stand myself now.
Do you think that there's a difference? Because again, if you were to ask me 3 years ago if I loved myself, yeah, I'd be like, yeah. Do you think there's a difference between like self-esteem and self-love?
Yes.
Like you can still feel good about yourself and what's happening and what's going on.
Well, yeah. I'm like, am I a functioning member of society? Yep. Am I actively harming anyone? Nope. That's sort of how I experience self-esteem. Am I like doing the basics, right? Which are important.
Yeah.
But now that I respect myself, it's a whole other, it's a whole other deal. And I feel like self-esteem is something to build upon, not to rest in.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I think for me, it feels more like I'm just gentler with myself. I don't beat myself up about things. It feels like, we talk about this too, like masculine and feminine energy. I'm not forcing so much. I'm not like trying to white knuckle everything in my life. I'm like, it's okay, because I'm okay.
Everything is kind of actually okay.
Yeah. And showing up with like my bag of shit. It's like, well,
here it is.
Yeah.
This is
this is it.
Yeah, right. And
I'm doing okay.
Self-love, again, was a concept that I thought I would arrive to it because I had no more shit.
Oh,
Because I had arrived, because I was successful, because I had money, because I had a partner, because fill in the blank. And I don't even know what to describe it as, that I have this self-worth without all of that. I thought it had to come the other way. Like, I thought I had to earn it through the outward expression mirroring back to me that I was successful. And now it's like,
oh God. I wonder if because again, I talked to my therapist about this too, because I was very successful. I had a lot of money. I had a big title. I had all the things that you're supposed to have in your life. And I was like, oh, this is my foundation. I'm going to love myself. This is fine. I think a lot of high performing individuals, which I'm sure you've seen in your coaching,
I sure have
a hard time with this concept because they're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. But when I think back now that was removed from me and I was a complete wreck and I no longer knew how to introduce myself, how to show up to my friends, how to show up to my family without, oh, I'm this. This is my title. This is what I do. This is my value in the world.
Oh, goodness. Yep.
I think I needed to hit that rock bottom in order for me to understand the amount of self-loathing that I had for myself. Yeah. And what was possible. We talk about this, I feel like I was happy. If you were to ask me, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm depressed and I'm anxious and I have control issues and all these things, but I'm happy.
But yeah, look at me. I'm super cute. And I have all these things and I can do all these things. And I have the freedom that kind of success buys.
Yes.
Right?
But I'm struggling, but I'm good.
Oh, totally.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
And now I think in comparison, I'm like, wow, I had no idea how good it could get. But again, not easier.
No.
Not simpler.
No.
But better.
We were talking about this. We don't really know how to describe it.
No.
Except for that there is an ease and that the way that I show up in the world now, there's no effort might not be the right word. It's that there's no show. And so I feel like the people in my life are a match, maybe. Because it's not, false is kind of a heavy word.
Sure.
But it's authentic, maybe. Mm. Again, we're having a hard time describing what it is.
Yes.
But just know that it's like the thing I know in every cell of my body. It's the truth that I know that I'm doing this work because of my own transformation. Because I went from being suicidal, being crippled by anxiety and depression to peace and contentment. It's wild. And it's the best.
And you don't have to. You don't have to show.
You don't.
You don't have to do this for other people. You don't have to. But I think once you reach this place, you're like, God damn.
Yeah.
We all need some help.
Deserve it.
Yes. Ooh, I like that better.
Deserve is such a hard word for people.
So you're like, what have I done to deserve it?
And I'm like, that's the thing.
You don't have to do anything.
This is the inherent worth that I'm talking about. And so I describe it as every single person, because they breathe in and out, that's living, that has lived, it deserves psychological, emotional, and physical safety and respect. Everyone is entitled to that, and no one is entitled to comfort.
But part of me is like, but what do I need to do to get there?
Yeah, it's like a done deal. And that people are like, oh, but everyone would be lazy if we taught that. And I see the exact opposite. When people walk through this transformation, me walking through this transformation, the ways in which I show up for myself, listen, I was the most undisciplined person on the planet, okay? I'm serious. Discipline has become an act of self-love now.
Because you deserve it.
I deserve to show up for myself. And I feel like discipline has so many other meanings than that, right? But I actually can have what I want. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have to put some effort in and do the work.
Yeah.
It's just that before I just assumed I wasn't worthy. And, you know, we were talking about like, how do you can hardly see outside of your experience. So growing up, you know, no ice maker in the fridge pour, and, you know, different because of growing up in Utah, it's hard to imagine anything else. And so the victim mentality becomes like, well, this must be what I deserve because this is what's being reflected back to me.
This is my reality. So this is the reality.
This is the only reality. And then there is something that happens, and it's different for everyone because you were this incredible high achiever. I was not. Which is just like, it's fine, right?
It's all how we cope.
Something broke through for both of us. So what is that? I think it's your energy, your spirit, your divinity being like, hey. Does that work?
Yeah.
We got the sound effect? Okay. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing it wrong.
This perspective now, I find that, and this is a little woo-woo, but I find that the universe the universe actually wants things to work out for me, but knows that I am a stubborn person. And so the things that have triggered big changes in my life have been hard, where the universe just like fucking booted me.
Yeah.
Because they knew that I wouldn't ever leave a cushy corporate job where I have all this status and this comfort, and I wouldn't ever leave. And even though it was killing me, even though it was literally killing me, it knew I would never leave it. And it was like, well, we gotta just toss her out on our ass and make this hard. But now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, the universe is just trying, man. It's trying so hard to make sure that things work out for me.
Right? And I mean, if we're talking about duality, and we are, because I just brought it up, if the universe is, then you are, because the macro is also the micro. So when you talk about those things, and to me, God is the same way. God is within you and God is without you, because as above, so without, so below, you know, as within, so without. So what if it is just you at the end of the day?
Oh, I don't know if I've gone that far in my journey.
I'm just like,
just me.
I'm just saying, like, what if it's the same? What if you're saying the universe wants me to succeed? The universe wants me to have the fulfillment that's for me, and that you get to define that. What if it was you all along? Or what if it's both?
But I like that if it's just me, because then your work becomes less about fixing people, right?
Yep.
Because that's what I think a lot of this work can look like. It's like, oh, it's therapy. You got to fix your issues. Got to fix your trauma.
No.
It's you teaching people how to access that.
Thank you for saying that.
Right?
Yes, because I say this almost every day. You feel broken. You are not broken. You have experienced a lot of emotional pain over a long period of time. There's a difference. And it's like, if you feel broken, that's real. So there's always two things happening in every situation: the way you feel about it and the truth. They're both real. So you got to meet the feeling to get to the truth.
My mind processing a lot.
But like, there's nothing wrong. What if nothing's wrong with any of us?
Yeah.
What if we're just tired because this weight of fear, scarcity, and shame is exhausting?
But it is so quickly normalized.
Oh, for sure. It's the known too. That's the other thing, that this big shift that is happening. And I love what is happening, because 200 years ago, we were burning witches. Okay. Am I pretty close on that math? Like, that's right? We're not going to fact check this. But now McCormick Spices, the biggest spice company in America, sponsors witches on Instagram. That's a quick turnaround.
What?
Yeah. Salem witch trials to like, yeah, look at how, this witch on Instagram is using our rosemary. Like, what?
Oh, I love that. That's good marketing.
But we're figuring out this shift. And so our brains we're kind of simple beings.
Yeah.
It's like our brains know one thing. It's the known. When we're looking out, people are still participating in this particular reality. And so we're like, maybe I should still do this though.
Yeah.
Because I know it, and it's the devil you know.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is. I talk about this as a corporate life specifically is like a hamster wheel. You're on this hamster wheel and you're like, I don't know if I'm doing great. But that person over there, that hamster looks really happy. That hamster's
They
going
must
great.
have it figured out.
They have a boat. They have a big house. Like that hamster looks great. Why am I
Hamster's
not?
dope. Yeah.
Comparison.
I'm doing it wrong. I must need to
It's me.
grind harder,
Yeah.
hustle harder, be more, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think corporate life can drive so much of us to feel shitty about ourselves. Like this is the first time I think
Isn't that what makes it go?
Jesus.
I mean, isn't it?
Accurate. Oh my God. Oh no, is corporate life all fueled by all of us feeling shitty about ourselves? Oh no.
Well, look, really the structure of American life,
Capitalism.
well, capitalism was based on not being enough.
Holy.
And I'm not trying to say like this is the evil because I don't want to make an enemy of anything. It's just more information.
Because, well, that's my podcast. My podcast isn't about people leaving corporate America and leaving capitalism, because this is the world we have to live in, right? We actually do have to ride on some. We don't have to, but we choose to ride on some of these hamster wheels,
Right. And I guess this is the point where people are like, money's not real. It's an energy. And I'm like, no, it's pretty freaking real.
Yes.
And it's both.
It's both. Yes.
And that's weird, but it's true. Like, have you tried not paying your mortgage? It's real. Just saying.
It gets real fast.
Gets real fast. And so that becomes self-care to say money is real, but I get to change my view of it. Right?
Yeah, your
and
mindset.
then there's an ease that comes. So to me, that's manifesting.
Yeah.
Right? It's that everything I have enough, but I would like a little more freedom and ease, please.
Yes.
I deserve it, so you're going to behave differently.
I just did an episode about relationships with money because mine is so complex. Like my money story, my money trauma,
We need to get into this with me, please.
Oh
so
my God. Well,
part two.
we'll
Coming up later.
We'll do your relationship with money.
Perfect.
Because I always struggled with that when people were like, well, just change your mindset. Just change it to an abundance. And I'm like, but I still have to pay for my bills. Like, how do I hold those two things in concert, right? Of like, it is a mindset and it is something that I can control. But I talked about this because my new mantra is money comes freely and easily to me. And I was like, you know what though?
Love that.
Worst case, you don't make more money, but your relationship with money gets better. You don't have as much anxiety. Best case, you actually manifest a better financial situation for yourself.
Right.
So why not?
Well, and that to like, I'm kind of working this out of like, 'cause I have that mantra, something similar too, and it always involves the word money. When really what I'm asking for is freedom and time.
Yeah.
That's what I want from money. I want the freedom to work less, to spend more time doing the things that I need to do, want to do,
That you love?
that I love. Are they the same when it's coming in? Does it matter if you say money or not? I don't know. All I know is that it's weird. It's like you can't be materialistic or you need to be fully materialistic. I'm like, I think there might be something in the middle.
Yes.
Where it's the duality of the both. Money's real. And it's also a currency.
It's an exchangeable resource. Yeah.
Right? And that we make these things real. And they're very real, guys.
Please, none of you stop paying your mortgage bill.
Please.
But I love that. I think because, again, I used to struggle when people were just like, just do this. And I was like, oh, God, you have no idea, though.
And I was like,
have bills.
you must have had an ice maker in your fridge. That's how I felt about it. I was like, I know who you are,
You may not have been a poor kid.
Just saying.
Your parents may not have.
Your lights
scared
may
the-
have not turned off. And your phone might have not gotten disconnected. You know what I mean? And that the judgment can go far and wide. And that's what I want to take off of it. And I just want to be accurate.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ease I find in accuracy of like, nope, I need money is real.
Yeah.
But do I need to? Okay, this is what it is. It's a fuel source issue. Is my fuel source for getting money because I'm afraid that I'm going to be destitute, because I'm afraid of all these things? Or is it because I know that money comes to me? Like it always shows up. My therapist once was like, when has money not shown up? And I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
It always has.
Yes.
Was it few and far between sometimes? Yeah, but like
It
I've
always
never
has.
been homeless.
Yes.
I've never, it was just the electricity and the no ice maker. But that's what I mean. Like and I think maybe that's what we were trying to say earlier of the change now. We're not drawing from
Fear
and scarcity and shame and a not enough. But it is new. So we're like, am I though? Is this going to work out? If I'm not stressing and grinding, will it work out?
But I love that the myth is the myth of arrival, because I have enough. I am happy, but I also would like more.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
I used to feel a lot of shame about wanting more.
Oh, me too. Because we were taught,
But I'm
sure,
kind of extra.
that money makes you greedy.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I got raised with that rich people were terrible people.
Oh, 100%.
And then
Same.
all of my jobs were in luxury. I worked for a resort first.
Oh.
And then when I was a photographer, I shot for this very high-end interior design. And so I was just like put front and center. And you know what I learned? They're just people.
They're just people. Yeah.
Some were the most genuine, beautiful humans I'd ever met, and some were dicks.
Yeah.
Like everybody.
Like everybody.
All God's children are terrible, guys. Like it's, and I do think that I don't think we know that money creates a sense of safety. But I mean, people have breakdowns and breakthroughs when they have money too.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe we just need to mind our business.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not your business. It's not my business what's happening over there.
Right? But that, jealousy plays a role here. Comparison and jealousy. And jealousy is a misunderstood emotion. It's just letting you know what you actually want.
Yes. We should have another conversation about
We're gonna have a lot more.
relationship with money, because I think for me, more started to be terrible because I didn't have a goalpost. My number wasn't just, it was more. It was always just more, which is terrible chasing. But having because like this was one of the first things I went through, was like, what do I want money for? And it's freedom. It was connection. And it was experience. Those are the three things I wanted money for. Yeah. And it wasn't just, I just want money.
Yeah.
Right? And understanding what your value framework is around what you want in your life is incredibly empowering. And it comes from a place of abundance, not scarcity.
Yes. And so this framework, like with what you teach, and then what I'm talking about is like, you've got to go through your tribal value system.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And say, which pieces of these are still for me and which do I no longer need? And you got to unplug from the ones that aren't for you. And then consciously choose your values. Because if I were to stick with the ones I was given, then money is the root of all evil. When it's not.
It's not. And I think it's important for everyone to understand too, that your belief system, because one of the exercises was like, what's your money story, right? What's your money trauma? What are all your mini bar stories and your ice maker stories that have given you drama about money?
And your card being declined stories. Yeah, that one's fun.
I just had bad credit from a Gap credit card just roll off my credit score just like a couple years ago. Okay, like there's some
Gap, give us a break. We're just trying to be cool.
I knew nothing about credit, and they were like, "Do you want to save 25%?" I was like, "That sounds great. Sign me up."
Yeah, why wouldn't I? I'd be silly not to. Yeah, I didn't know credit scores existed till I was 27 years old.
Dude, I think I was 26.
It was too late.
By the time it was too late.
It sure was.
But I think you don't realize, if you don't feel like you've actually crafted any core beliefs or frameworks around your belief system or your money system or whatever, you have. You just didn't know.
You got to become aware of it.
Yeah.
So it's not just your money. We're talking about you. You've got to become aware of what because not choosing is a choice.
Yes.
Going with the Joneses that's not the expression. Going with the flow, keeping up with the Joneses. It's actually a choice.
It is. And it's oftentimes you keeping a belief system that is actively harming you.
Yes. But you're afraid of what's on the other side. And that's fair.
It's totally fair.
Because when what is it? A dark night of the soul, a full breakdown. But now that we know it's a breakthrough.
Yes.
Right? And it feels like a breakdown, guys. Don't worry about it. It's rough.
It is rough.
Worth it though. I do, and I will do it again and again. Each time I'm offered a chance to be reborn, I will take it. It's hard, but once you do it once, you're like,
Because when have you not made it?
when have you not made it? And when you come back up out of that darkness, you're like, oh, okay, I'll do it again. And so that's the unknown. So you're working against your own physiology here, because your brain's like, we don't know what that is, so you're going to die actually. So some people are beating themselves up for not doing this work fast enough, or showing up to it as soon. And I'm like, give yourself a break. Your brain and nervous system are literally trying to keep you alive. So just become aware of that and start to be like, yeah, this is scary, right? All of a sudden everything we knew that was real is crumbling. Scary shit, guys.
Oh, that is scary.
Yeah.
And your body's going to produce stress hormone. Your body's going to respond to that.
You're going to freak out.
Because your body's nice.
Your body is trying to protect you. And for the most part, you haven't been listening to your body because we weren't taught to.
Yes.
You're listening to your mind. And this is where I'm going to plug that your mind is not the enemy. It's about mastering your mind and inhabiting your body and letting them talk to each other. You need your mind. It's just like this masculine and feminine divide. The reason there's a divide outside of us is because there's a divide inside of us. We keep trying to make one thing the enemy. It's like, fat in the 90s. Don't eat fat, guys. And now they're like, you need MCT oil immediately. Because we keep trying to find the one answer. There isn't one. Give up the ghost.
Can I tell you my favorite thing about
you can.
regulating my nervous system that I've been practicing? Because again, I think I'm in this place where I'm like, holy hell, is this the first time my nervous system has been regulated in my life?
I mean, mine is, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I was today years old.
That alone,
I know.
that alone of experiencing a regulated nervous system after it's been very dysregulated, I'm like, my
It's
brain.
a trip.
It's a trip. And you were like, oh my God, I was not okay. Someone help her. I was not okay.
That, and I'm in awe of the versions that I have been. I don't hate them anymore. Like, you did this.
Oh, you look back on yourself with so much more kindness and love. You're like, God, you did what you needed to do to get through
And
it.
that was scary.
But good for you.
It was good for us.
But my thing has been, and it's very awkward and it's very real, but I love it. So I find myself in, even if I'm doing things that would calm myself down, right? Like things that should be relaxing, massages, like even when I'm like crocheting, okay? My shoulders are up by my ears. My tongue is pressed to the top of my, like I'm clenching my needle. I am stressed. Like even though I am crocheting, my body doesn't know I'm crocheting.
Yes.
My body thinks I'm being attacked by a bear.
Yes.
So the thing that I've been doing that I love is I've been doing an audible, like you're taking a bite of a really good meal. Like when I'm looking outside and there's a sunset. And that moment brings me into my body. And like you said, connects your mind and your body.
Yeah.
So that suddenly your body knows that you're doing something kind and pleasant and safe.
Yep.
And can stop producing cortisol. And
We need it to stop producing the cortisol.
It's not doing any of us any favors.
Right. No, it's not.
It's not. It's making us hold on to weight. But I find that so interesting that even though you could be going through the motions and doing something that is calming and relaxing and helping, your body may not know it.
Exactly. It's not, how would it?
How would it?
You've got to give yourself a second. This happened to me yesterday. I took my children to Park City with a friend.
Oh.
And it's like, especially when you run your own business, learning that it's okay to not be checking in on everything all the time and continuously is there going to be enough? And being present is hard.
Impossible.
So all of a sudden my kids were having a great time and my body was like, we're not going to be okay. I was like, are you serious? Can I just be here? And so I'm a chest tapper.
Oh.
So I put my hand on my chest and I just tapped it. And I was like, we're actually okay. It's okay to be here. And then I looked at my kids and I was like, no, they are actually having fun. They'll forget. Don't worry. They start whining again soon. It's fine. But So I just looked at him and I said to myself and kind of out loud, it was like, all this and more, please. I get to do this. There is enough time. There is enough energy. I get to be right here. And I just had never experienced that, not only just from running my own business, but from all the other times that I've been in survival. And like, I think it's very new to actually be fully present and fully enjoy what's happening in the moment without just wishing like you'd get to the concert and be like, oh, I can't wait to get home.
Just got to get through this.
Yeah. And when I was home, I was like, I can't wait till tomorrow. And it's like, just here. And to get as far as I've gotten, to have that happen yesterday, I was like, are we real right now?
Yes. This has just been like last week.
Literally just in the last week. But then you realize you kick through it quicker.
Oh, you do.
And I did drop into my body and the cortisol stopped producing. And
my favorite thing that I've been loving and using more than just when I listen to your podcast, but when you say, recognize all the pieces of you that are elsewhere, that are living in the present, right? Thinking about the next thing, the next to do, living in the past about like fear and all these things, and just bring them in. I love that.
Them in.
I think that's been really powerful for sort of kind of the moments, the chest tapping, like the kind of like recognize how much of you're allowing to be right here.
Yeah. And give yourself full permission to do that. And I think a piece of this that I should add is if you can't bring them home, that's okay too. Don't force it. It's like, oh, I'm now aware that a piece of me is in the past and it kind of doesn't want to come back. Okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. And that like, think about how we comfort babies like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that there's a humming that goes into your chest. It runs down the back of your throat.
And something about making an audible noise. Like I do this too now when I wake up, like I sigh, like I'm trying to make more noise because we were taught all in society, like, please be quiet. Don't make noise. Don't be weird. Don't be the weird kid that's like moaning in the movie theater. Like I totally understand, but I find it a really powerful tool.
I agree. I couldn't agree more because like we are meant to enjoy.
Yeah.
And that gets to be audible.
Yeah.
And that came out a long time ago for me with food, but food only. And it was like, I go to dinner with people like, we can't take you anywhere. This is weird. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Did you taste that though?
Did you taste that? And are you actually enjoying this in the present moment?
Right. But we give ourselves like these little places, like it's okay to do it here and not here and here and not here. Yourselves, guys.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Try it.
Just give it a try.
Be weird.
Oh, my kids are like, that's cringe. And I will respond every time. Cringe is in. Earnestness is in. It's exhausting trying to be anything else.
God, it really is. The older I get, I'm realizing that. I'm like,
oh, that's the best part.
I saw this like tweet. It was like, the older I get, the uglier I'm okay going out in public. And I'm like, isn't that the truth?
Oh yeah.
I've gone out in some unhinged ways.
It's like, I've marked off my, like, I'll never do that as a mom bingo, you know? Like, I don't care.
I don't care anymore.
It's wonderful. And I still care.
Yeah.
It's a both and.
It's a both. Yes. It's an and. It's an and.
I'm kind of excited, to be honest with you guys, for like my crone years.
Oh, I am too.
It's going to be lit.
Dude. I think about, I'm going to have like long silver hair.
Yes.
And I'm going to be that woman that's like, she is so beautiful, but she is a little stern. And I'm like, yeah, I am.
Like, because I'm
going to need you to be better.
I'm going to need you to do one better. And I'm going to wear whatever I want.
Better.
And
and you're going to be like, that woman might be a witch.
I'm like, that's how you know, you know? But like, this is the beautiful part, right? Like even to bring it full circle, we were talking about anti-aging.
Yeah.
Right?
Ooh.
And that everything is temporary, including these meat sacks that we have. These beautiful meat sacks that love us a lot. The way you appear right now is going to fade. It doesn't matter what you do. At some point, it's going to disintegrate. And look, I'm into biohacking. I would love to prolong this.
Totally.
Great, let's do it. But to be able to surrender to the deterioration of the physical form.
Isn't that true self-love?
Yeah. And that's the work that we're doing. And I don't even need to be excited about it because it's not here. But I do know that like this transition from my youth into this mother, and not just because I'm an actual mother, but into this stage of my life was so difficult because I thought I had to stay young and perfect and all the things. And now it's like, oh, this is so good.
So good.
Yeah. You couldn't pay me to go back to my 20s.
Totally.
Not that it's possible, but you get it. Right? And then, but it's like, it's kind of, I'm using air quotes for those of you who aren't watching this. It's easy to accept ourselves right now because like we're very pleasant looking. I'm just saying. Okay, it's not a brag. It's just accurate. But then
we're not weird witch crone yet.
Not yet, because there will come a time though.
Oh yeah.
You know, and the melanin is helping out. But then I look at my dad and I'm like, oh, is that what happens? Because you look like young till you don't.
Till you don't.
It seems like it happens overnight.
And I cannot wait, honestly. I'm going to shrink 4 inches, I'm sure.
Right?
Overnight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that I want that. I want that I have invested in this self-love, invested in the divinity that I am so that my physical form can deteriorate. Without it, I won't deteriorate.
And you can still care about your physical form.
Still care.
Like wonderful. we have self-love. We like, again, full circle. We have self-love. We fully accept ourselves. And you and I are going to go to South Korea and get $25 hydrofacials.
Absolutely, we are.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And I'm still going to do my night routine tonight. And I'm going to wear sunblock and a big hat. That was for you, Abby. Mm-hmm. We're trying to pass on the youth that like sunscreen's a big deal and you should wear it and cover your face. I'm just saying.
Wear sunscreen. And use retinol.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Drink a lot of water too. Yeah, that's all. It's sort of the keys of life. You know, go from self-loathing to self-love and hydrate and wear sunscreen.
That's it. That's the recipe.
In summation.
You're welcome. In summation. In summary.
You don't even need to listen to this whole thing. You just
3 steps.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. It's just not easy. And that's, I think, maybe the best description of life that I can say. Like, none of it's easy.
But it doesn't mean it's bad.
No.
Yeah.
And the way we were living was so hard.
Yeah.
And the outcome was depression, anxiety, and self-loathing. This is hard. And the outcome is self-love.
Humor.
I cry now.
Good. Oh,
right? Like, that's nice. Yeah. Like at a drop of a hat. Sometimes I'm like, can I turn this off? No. Okay. You know, but
once you turn it on,
I was like, oh, I signed up for this, huh? All right. So anyway.
And your body's really relishing in this fact after not for 25 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's great for your skincare.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
It's really, really true. So those are our beauty tips.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. We never tuned in, but I think that's okay.
I think that's okay too.
Yeah. Okay.
I tuned into you.
I tuned into you too. How do we wrap this up? I'd never know. It's good? Oh yeah. Oh, thanks for listening. And you can find us on Jen. Tell them where they can find you.
Oh yeah. I'm Jen. We didn't
introduce ourselves. Should we introduce ourselves and you just put it at the front?
I'm Jen. And I run a podcast called The Corporate Cleanse. And you can find me on Instagram, I guess.
I do find you on Instagram. What's your handle?
It's Jen L. Gray.
There you go. L is in lion.
Yes.
Just in case.
Thanks, Mika.
You're welcome. I got you. I do the same thing. So I'm just...
Dude, thanks for having me. I think we're going to have a part 2 and a part 3.
No, we absolutely are. It's a done deal. So like stay tuned. You can find me on Instagram at Makel Reese. You can find me on the TikTok, Makel C Reese. And now you guys Threads.
Oh, and the Threads content is good. I'm here for Threads.
So I think that's the same at Makel Reese. This is fun, right? We know where you can find us.
We'll have business cards.
We'll have business cards made later.